Do you struggle with getting your questions answered around your body image, your relationship with food, exercise, diet? Well, if you do, welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we have our Q&Heyyy, which is where we answer the questions from our Instagram, Facebook groups, and our clients in general. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
Hello.
Welcome. We have a surprise guest.
Yes, a very non-sleeping cooperative guest, that's for sure. It's been a rough few
So we are virtual today. We did have this all nice and recorded for you, and then the audio and the video, both. Because if it's just a video, then you just don't.
Fine. Yeah, but then when I got home and I looked and I was like, oh crap. And
so
Michael was
annoying.
like, what are you listening to? I'm like, us.
Yeah. So you get a virtual today, but we're excited about an interview we just did with Michelle Carroll. She's a PhD candidate who focuses on body image in the fitness industry. So definitely want to listen to that. So I went to I was invited to be a part of this female entrepreneur group. And I want to share my experience because I feel like it will resonate with a lot of our listeners. So my girlfriend, Cynthia Sassy, who's been on this podcast, as well as Oleka Cullinan, who's also been on this podcast, Cynthia created this 10 women's entrepreneur group. And Alenka being one of them, my PR gal, Robin being the other, but then these other women sitting at the table. And just amazing humans, women who have built businesses, women who have had really successful businesses, but not business partners and had to rebuild, women who are looking to break the $5 million mark. And so I'm sitting at this table thinking, oh my gosh, why am I here? Some of the words they were saying, I just was like, I have no idea what that means, in regards to financials, and they're talking about, chief of staffs adding chief of staffs to their businesses. And I felt great. No, I was feeling a bit, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. I did offer some really helpful information. But one thing I said, and you guys will understand this, I didn't say it in the way I would say it here. I said it in a way that wasn't like fully baked. And it was like silence after I spoke. And I'm not used to that. So I was like, oh God, they think I'm an idiot. And I've really struggled with feeling not smart enough. I wasn't a good student. I really just struggled with, like, my brain just doesn't comprehend certain things. Later being diagnosed with ADHD, I can understand why. And I've had that part in me that is, you're not good enough. You're not, you're not smart enough to be here. You're the lowest one on the totem pole. I even felt that way in dance at times. And I left just like replaying things over and over again, wanting to talk to my business coach about how I felt this way. And I just thought it was something that our listeners could relate to, where, instead of what I ended up falling back on and having a lot of compassion and courage in myself, was the part of my brain, the not good enough part, wanted to be like, you don't deserve to be there, right? You don't deserve to be at the table. But I was able to connect to myself and have that curiosity, that courage and compassion. And I was like, I'm so grateful to be there. And I'm so grateful. And also they helped me really understand something about my business, that my message has been geared towards a person who's not necessarily not me, but I can refine the message and what I do based on my own story. So the overachiever, putting my worth in my achievement, because if I get accolades, then that wounded part of myself, that not enoughness, can't exist, right? That, push your body, mind, work into the ground, like you will sleep when you're dead, which also obviously is a byproduct of that overachievement. The person who, really doesn't understand why they do all of those things, and then it reflects on themselves, and that reflects differently for everyone. Like as we call them in our program, our firefighters, or the one of our protectors of our most wounded part, that shameful part, that embarrassed part. That can be a lot of things. That can be continuing to work more. That can be alcohol. That can be binge eating. That can be emotional eating. And they really helped me define that. And so you guys will see in our messaging that it's going to sound a little bit different and so authentic, because in all honesty, that they helped me realize that is who we work with, right? We work with the women who are like us. And those women, and I will say this, and this is going to be controversial, I feel like just have a level of intellect or self-awareness even that attracts them to us. Whereas maybe someone who doesn't have that self-awareness will be attracted to another program that's kind of that quick fix mentality. Not to say the women who come to us don't struggle with quick fix, because what I see is they punish themselves or they put themselves on the back burner. Then when it's time to go on the vacation or the blood panels are off, they want that quick fix and they put all their effort into it, but they're already so exhausted that it just doesn't work.
Right.
Right. And so once that exhaustion sets in, they're like, I need to try something else. So it was really helpful, but that imposter syndrome, I didn't feel like, that's the thing. I don't feel like an imposter. I just don't feel smart enough.
Did you get invited to the group, or did
Yes.
you apply? Oh, so okay. I always find that kind of like the invitation is always what's the word I'm thinking of? Very not ego stroking, but almost like if you're invited,
validating.
If you're invited to something like that, as opposed to applying, it's like the person that is hosting it knows you deserve to be there. Whereas if you're applying, you're like, they'll determine if I deserve to be there.
Right. Exactly. So it was a good experience. We're moving our model, the mindset method, to include what is called integrated or what is it? I always get the words wrong. Internal family systems theory. And basically what that is. So I've kind of explained this already, but I'm a family systems therapist. So I look at the whole system and how all the parts affected the person that's in my chair or, our client. This says, okay, well, what if those different systems or people, if you will, also reside in your head? What if you have you have that parentified child, you have that golden child part of you, you have that rebellious child part of you, right? You have the addicted one, a part of you. And those different, as we call them, protectors, they all kind of feed off of each other. And so it helped me even realize one of my protectors, right? Well, if I just tell you you shouldn't be here, which then the next protector is you should stop. You should give up. I remember and I earned being in honors English. And because everyone else spoke differently than I do, I left the class and went back to regular English. This is obviously something, this is obviously, it's, for me, it was almost the mentality of I'm going to set myself up for success rather than try hard, which also doesn't make sense in other areas of my life. Cause if it's something creative, which I guess English is creative, but the problem with the English class is we had to read these really long novels and I didn't have that mental structure. To do that. I did end up figuring that out for graduate school because I would have failed that for sure. But I just realized now, using the parts work we're doing with our clients, the whole goal is for you to just be aware when each part is kind of there, or they call them the trailheads of each part. So if I'm wanting to leave the group, that's a trailhead to the part that's kind of taking place, or that's activated, if you will, which is you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, so you should leave, right? Because you shouldn't be here. You don't deserve to be here. So it was really cool. It was good. It was humbling. It was a
How
lot of
often will
things.
y'all meet?
Once a month, but we have accountability things that we will set each month and goals. So my accountability is to begin to post on LinkedIn because again, that's where our clients live. And then on Instagram, really delivering the message to that client. I'm so thankful. I have clients, my client Krista, I know she's a listener. Krista is an executive. I won't give, she's a private person, so I won't give out too much info, but that I just respect the shit out of. We respect the shit out of each other. And that's such a wonderful feeling. And I said, hey, this is where I'm going, or not even where I'm going. We've already been going this way. We just haven't been delivering the message. And she's working on some stuff. Like, let me think about where I came, like when I was first, when I first started working with you. She's since graduated and she's doing exceptionally well, But so yeah, that was new for me. What's up with you?
Yeah. I'm looking at my LinkedIn because I have a LinkedIn for the fitness stuff too, but I haven't really been keeping up with it.
Should do one for working moms.
We should do one for working moms because it is getting hairy.
Well, and I was thinking about this for you. Like you posted that thing the other day of like that thought was there before a baby.
Oh yeah.
Like I would even get granular. What thought? You don't hate your postpartum body. You hate your body.
Yeah.
And like really speaking to
like the specifics. Yeah. Cause it's like the body thing is still, and then like the relationship with food is always something, the relationship with exercise, but then even you can, tree branch those into the specifics.
Yeah. By the way, I'm using your microphone.
Oh.
So the other nice thing of my new setup here is instead of having to set up that one mic, I can just pull this one from the corner.
Oh, good.
Bring it here.
Yeah.
So yay. Love that. So what's new?
We're not sleeping, so that's super fun.
Yeah.
We had a couple nights of like awesome stuff, and I was like, yay, like we hacked the system. And I kept telling myself, like, just be ready. And it happened where we are not hacking the system anymore. So like, what's today? Today's Wednesday. I don't even know. Monday night was rough, and I was like, okay, whatever, and then last night was like, as soon as you put her down, she starts like screaming. So I essentially like held her all night, but she like wakes up and like does her stuff. And so it's just like, oh my God. So I probably would sleep for an hour, off an hour, on an hour, off an hour. So I don't know. I just don't think she's feeling all that good because on Sunday, was it? Sunday, she was kind of just like warm. I can't remember Sunday or Monday. She was just warm. And so we gave her some Tylenol and then she like perked up and I was like, oh, whoopsie. And then, so now I'm kind of like, is it just lingering and whatnot? So actually before she was sleeping and I was like, oh my gosh, like, because anytime the baby is sleeping, you're like, I could do stuff. Like I got 20 minutes or 2 hours to do stuff. And so, then she woke up and yesterday she slept really well in the carrier. So I was like, I'll just put her back in here and hopefully she falls back asleep. And I gave her some more Tylenol and then she's out because I'm like, she's obviously, because even her eating is not really going well. So I'm like, So it's really hard because like, you don't know like what the problem is and you can't solve it, because even when you do solve it, there's something else. And even when you do think you have a system in place or like a routine in place, it changes. And like, even like, you don't want to give them too much stuff like meds and all of that crap because you're like, you don't want to make them sick from that or blah, 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 or you don't know how their body will react with it. And so you're just kind of like, oh my gosh. And then at night you're wondering why, like, cause you're in that sleep where you're not really asleep, but you're just kind of asleep, where you're still thinking and you're like, why am I still thinking, but I'm asleep. And then you're wondering like, did I do this? What is it? This like, is it this little thing that we give her? Should I change this? Is it because my parents like didn't move her enough throughout the day yesterday, like to help with her gas? Is it gas? Is it and so it just goes down a rabbit hole. And I think what I'm really learning in this month of having a child is like, there is no answer. There is no control.
It's just kind of that curiosity of like, well, why might this be? And then kind of trying things, and doing it in a safe way. I'm going to give you my login to my CEU course that I completed. For those of you, I just drove home from California, literally
at 3:30 this morning.
15 minutes ago. I had my uncle's funeral and it ended up getting out at like 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 4 p.m. And it was in the heart of LA. So it was going to be 7 hours to get home. So I wouldn't be home till 12:30. And I had not slept well the night before at my sister's because the room that I was in doesn't have a fan. And I was so hot. I interrupt this episode to bring you information on our Sprinkling Your Mindset Masterclass here at the Mindset of Matter. The masterclass will be on March 25th, and it will be covering all of the things we talk about here at the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast and have you gaining understanding around your behaviors, your yo-yo dieting, your restricting and binging, you're starting over again on Monday. On top of that, you will get a $10 early bird discount to sign up for our 21-day Food and Body Freedom Challenge. This is a challenge that is a mini mindset method on top of receiving nutrition and exercise guidance. This is a taste of what we do here at the Mindset of Matter, and you'll receive our 21-day challenge at $29 if you sign up between now and our masterclass on March 25th. So I hope to see all of you both in the masterclass and in our 21-day challenge. Now, back to the show. And so I drove there and drove back, and I was doing my CEUs, and I'm going to give you one. It was all about how, historically we've been raising children, even in the therapy space, wrong.
Really?
And yeah, everything we do is basically what they're saying to do. But like that idea of letting them cry it out.
Oh yeah, no, that's torture.
Right. Well, and eventually he goes, eventually they'll cry out because they'll stop crying after like days of doing it because they give up because no one's showing up for them.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. I think you would find it really helpful. Plus, I'm going to be doing a whole course with the team on IFS.
Oh, great. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Well, for those of you who have questions and can't wait for the answer, we're going to get into them. For those of you that do not know, you can follow us on Instagram at Mindset Mirror Connection Podcast or our individual Instagrams, fitbyamanda.az, Mindset of Matter Coaching. And we will post like the little question things for you to ask questions there. We have a Facebook group called the Women's Weight Loss and Workout Support Group, where we also have questions that people just put on that group, as well as for our clients. We now have a link to the Q&Heyyy form in your resources tab. So also clients, I have been away at a funeral. I've like been on my computer, like going through the inbox. I actually walked my sister's neighborhood and like tried to check in with everyone, but I ended up realizing I didn't check in with the last couple people. So just know I'm here. I did not forget about you. I just had
getting there.
Yeah. So I'll go with our first question. Hey, Christina and Amanda, since starting my fitness journey a month ago, I've lost 4 pounds. Yay! I was wondering if you have ever used creatine. I've been doing some research and I've been thinking about taking it after my workouts. What are your thoughts? We love creatine.
Yeah, my answer is yes, yes, yes. Do it.
Yes. Tell them why, girl.
I would say do it because it's good for your mental health benefits. That's what their new research is showing. But it's also good, like primarily it came out for muscle recovery. So the fact that you lost 4 pounds in a month is really great, sustainable progress. And if we're going to the gym and making things all strong, then it's going to help build those muscles for you. One thing I would say, and that I read in here, it says that she's thinking about taking it after her workouts. Honestly, it doesn't matter when you take it, as long as you take it. And you'll see, like, sometimes when you Google how to take creatine, it'll talk about a loading phase, which is essentially, I think it's like you do 20 grams in one day for like a couple days or something like that. You can just start by taking like 3 to 5 grams a day. And they have pill form or they have powder form. I would just do the one you're going to be most consistent with. So for example, I just put it every morning in my water bottle, kind of shake it up, and it dissolves pretty easily. But I do want to note we are not physicians. So just make sure you check in with your doctor before taking any supplements.
Right. So I agree with that. With women specifically, like women versus men, the amount of creatine that we can like saturate in our muscle is different. So for men, that idea of kind of that building up makes more sense for them. But for us, we can definitely follow that routine that you had suggested. Creatine is something that we naturally create in our body. It's produced by the liver, and it helps to create amino acids. Amino acids help with, muscle recovery, helps with, now we're seeing a reduction in depression and anxiety, as well as any sort of cognitive delays. So we wouldn't be surprised to see if we actually add this into a lot of different people's routines, if you will. But it basically, the idea is it helps your muscles work harder and longer. And that's what we want, right? We want to be able to get through a hard workout without that muscle fatigue so that we can finish it. Now, obviously, listening to your body, but it helps with the system that gives you energy throughout that workout. And then also helps with that rebuilding after the fact. So those are all things we definitely want to have. For women specifically, I want to share some info on a research study on women specifically and the effects of creatine. So it was a 10-week study. All the women performed compound movements for 1 hour, 3 times a week. And
Ooh.
they had 20 gram a day loading. So for this one, they did load. Okay, so 20 grams a day loading of creatine for 4 days, followed by 5 grams per day for the remainder of the program. After the 4-day loading, their PCR levels increased by 6%, and the 5-gram maintenance dose was adequate to maintain the increase over the duration of the study. When the strength was tested at the end of the 10 weeks, all of the groups studied showed improvement in strength in all exercises, which was expected, given they were all untrained. However, the women taking the creatine had 20 to 25% greater increase in their 1 rep max strength for all of the compound movements, which is what we want. We want to get stronger. I think I told you guys that my DEXA scan showed that my bones are 25 to 30 years old, which I think is a fucking cool ass thing.
Because you are how old?
42.
Yes.
And there is a lot. I was talking to my nephew last night about snowboarding, and he's like, "Aren't you afraid you're going to hurt yourself?" I'm like, "No, I have 25-year-old bones." One of the things is there are creatine non-responders. So you might see that you don't have a response. So a few things: make sure you take enough creatine to increase muscle creatine content. At least 0.1 grams per kilogram of body weight per day is probably the minimum amount you can load with creatine for the first week, and take that dose to 0.3 kilograms per day to quicken your results. Give it enough time and be consistent with your intake, and take it with, it says here, I've never heard this, quick digesting source of simple carbohydrates with your creatine. Fruit, yogurt, and other dairy. This will increase blood insulin levels, which causes most substances in your blood to be driven into muscle cells for usage and storage. You may feel some bloating and weight gain, but that water that it's providing, or that a little bit of water weight, is into the muscle, okay? And it should diminish over time. So we love creatine. It is the most studied supplement on the market, with positive results. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see more areas in the medical field adding that to the supplementation or medication.
There's 2 things regimen. I want to add to that too, is because you referenced this a little bit, the scale weight might go up because of that increase in water, but it's not because you gained fat per se. Right. So that's one thing. If you weigh yourself daily, just monitor that and just know it might go up, and that's okay. The other thing too is if you take this, like, you're not going to notice a difference like black and white. It's not like you take allergy pills and you can all of a sudden like breathe through your nose. It's
not like steroids.
Yes. Yeah. It's just like a little thing to help you give. Like, it's like, it should be almost like, I almost want to say like a B12 supplement, right? Like, yeah, you could feel a little bit better, but it's not going to radically change your life on how you feel.
Yeah. Also, one thing I wanted to add is make sure we're taking creatine monohydrate.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So one other thing for Amanda, let me see here. In a recent study in 2015, they looked at creatine supplementation on brain neuron differentiation in pregnant female rats.
Oh.
Yes. So researchers found that creatine supplementation positively affected the morphological and electrophysiological development of brain neurons in offspring rats, increasing neuron neuronal excitability. Translation: the brains of baby rats from female rats who took creatine were more active and possibly healthier. So again, talk to your doctors on that.
Yeah, I definitely, so for full transparency, I stopped taking creatine early in pregnancy. And then towards the end, I started taking it again. And there was no rhyme or reason about that. I was just kind of like, I stopped because I was like, oh, it's not really studied in pregnant women. And then I started taking it again because I was like, ooh, I would like to make sure my muscles are repaired postpartum and like through birth. And then I've been taking it while I've been breastfeeding. So
yeah, says it also has neuroprotective benefits to a fetus. So that can reduce the risk of cerebral palsy and associated impairments and disabilities arising from fetal brain injury. So amazing stuff. I will add this link. I'm going to put it in our notes to add. It's from Girls Gone Strong. If you guys are not following them,
they're great.
They are great. They are all about female health. And Amanda and I think have done combined all of their trainings.
Yes. I have the prenatal and postpartum one. Or I have the pre-postpartum. I don't know what they call it anymore.
Well, we both have do you have the level 1?
From Girls Gone Strong?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. So I have the women's coaching specialist, which is their level 1, and the menopause specialist. So we love them.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Next one. Hey girls, love your podcast. Wondering if you have a good workout plan that you can share. I'm a single stay-at-home mom. I'm looking to lose 45 to 50 pounds by midsummer. I have no equipment and barely any extra finances, which we get, especially in motherhood. Shit's expensive. So how can you help? Okay. Love this question. So y'all remember back in COVID where we got real creative with our equipment. We'll talk about that, but let's just talk about body weight.
Yeah. 45 to 50 pounds by midsummer. So what we're essentially in March. When is summer? I would say May is what I consider summer. So March, April. So in 2 months, you're going to lose 50 pounds, which is 25 pounds per month, which is not sustainable or in a healthy manner. So this, I would say, is 1, red flag. And 2, you do not lose weight by exercising. So the weight loss is going to come through nutrition. And I would almost want to know what she's eating, the quality of what you're eating. But also to say, like, we might honestly, what happens too with the moms is you end up eating less and less and less, right? Because I'm not making meals for myself, or I'm picking off food from my kids, and then I'm kind of full and snacking, and then I'm having a big nightly meal because I'm so hungry because I didn't eat throughout the day. So there's a lot of behaviors that might contribute to the perceived weight issue that you're having that could resolve the weight loss. But yeah, I would not recommend 50 pounds by 2 months. And so that's kind of one thing. And then going into, like you were saying, we can use so much within the home already. I think what would be a good idea is we kind of talk about like body weight options that you can progress at home.
Right. And there's going to be, depending on your, level of expertise or lack thereof in any sort of exercise, I would say resistance training in this, you're going to have a different level of progression or regression. So where you could start is just some body weight squats, right? Or even using a chair to hold on and support you in a squat, or squat to the chair. That progression would then look like, maybe going into from the chair to your body weight without support to a lunge, right? And then the more advanced, Bulgarian split squats is a big one. Pistol squats are a huge try. Everyone listening, if you think that I'm going to give you a body weight workout that's so advanced that you're going to die. Just kidding. But it'll be very challenging. Pistol squats. And then if you wanted to add any resistance, I mean, you could put a backpack on or your kids on your back. You did that and squat, depending on how old they are, put them and how fun you get to connect with them. It's creative. We're being playful and you're getting in your movement, and they get to, touch you. So that's nice too. If you want that. For your chest, right? I would say push-ups.
Wall push-up
would be a good one.
Is a good
Go
start.
ahead in progression.
Yeah. So I like wall push-up is a good start. Then we can go to like an incline push-up. So even like you could use your countertops in the kitchen, and then we can use like a couch or a chair. And then we can go to the floor and do knees, or you can do hand release push-ups too. And then you can eventually go into that full body push-up as well.
And advancing that, you put a couple books underneath your hands.
Deficit.
And you go into a deficit, or you could go into like pike push-ups. You could do what are they? Superman push-ups, where you like push up and clap.
Oh my
God. We did those at F45.
Hello, listeners. We have the Mindset of Mommies program coming out March 3rd. In this group coaching program, you're going to get 8 weeks of foundational topics to give you the best pregnancy yet. This is for people who are interested in getting pregnant, who are currently trying to conceive, or if you're pregnant, and that could be your first pregnancy or your 5th pregnancy. In this 8-week series, what we're going to do is take you through weekly topics that focus on adjustments for pregnancy. So for example, how to adjust your exercise training through each trimester, which nutrition considerations you need to implement into your diet and lifestyle. What mindset shifts do you need to make through your body image, gaining weight, as well as your relationships? What support services should you seek? Do we need a pelvic floor physical therapist, chiropractor, massage, all the goods and ends? Also, resources. I've got a full Google Drive of resources for you to have access to. We'll also have weekly group calls. On these weekly group calls, they are recorded, so you have a lifetime of access to reference them. So if this is something you're interested in, again, we're starting March 3rd. Be sure to sign up in the link below, and let's get you started for the best pregnancy yet.
For your glutes, any sort of good morning. So a hip hinge, right? And so so real quick, guys. So my dad has cancer, and I saw him, and he's pretty thin. And I'm like, I don't know if that's fat or muscle, but let's try to keep because he does his workouts, but his heart rate is getting too high. So I told him, I said, just sit on the chair, and I like touched his quads. And I said, I want you to squeeze this. And he just like put his legs up and down. He's like, oh my gosh, I feel that. Right. So when you're in that good morning, really thinking about that mind muscle connection of squeezing your glutes. You can also do a glute bridge on the ground. Holding at the top is really nice. You then go into a single leg dead, or we'll say single leg toe touch, right? Single leg glute bridge. And then advanced, if you want to put your back on the couch, you can get a little bit more range of motion into that hip thrust. Flip it around, put your feet on the couch, another way to increase range of motion. And then my favorite progression for this is a walkout, where you're in that glute bridge position, and then you walk your heels out. And you walk them back. Yeah. So that's a really good one for the like hamstrings and glutes. What about shoulders?
The shoulders. I always like a Superman. And when I prescribe Supermans initially for clients who are maybe returning from being off training for a while, is just do arms only. Because I find like when they do arms and back, it just becomes like this flailing thing, and then the other muscles take over. So I'll start with Supermans.
Let's talk about your back.
So then what I would do is fill up a grocery bag, fill it up with some, like cans of something. You know, you can do the weight. The problem, I can see someone being like, yeah, but then I don't know which weight I'm using. We'll do it by weight per can. So maybe like I do 2 cans for this, 3 cans for that, or 1 can for this, if we're going to go into shoulders. So with the back, like I can fill up like a grocery bag, and almost like think of it like a kettlebell structure, where that weight's on the bottom and pulling back and pulling up. So again, you probably have cans of soup or vegetables in your house. If you don't, they're relatively cheap. I think they're maybe 99 cents for the cheapest ones.
Yeah. You can even make like sandbags.
Oh, yeah. YouTube.
Yeah.
Or even grab like a big rock from the yard too. Like, especially in Arizona. Yeah, we have rock yards, if you didn't know.
Right. Well, and I like for like your back, even just like a bent over, like YTI, where you're literally just making those shapes with your arms. I love that as a warm up for myself. But again, really focusing on engaging the back, right? So feeling your muscles, sometimes even like putting your hand on your back to feel what that feels like when you're moving into that Y position. And then Superman's being, I would say, you know, like you said, arms only. And then when you add the feet, that will advance it. You could even go around the world with the arms, which makes you hold in that kind of Superman position for a little bit longer. So that would be back. And then shoulders, there's going to be a little bit of that in the back and in the chest. But I like, you know, even just like shoulder taps, bear walks, right? So like bear crawls. You could use the cans and do lateral raises, overhead raises. You could literally take anything and put it overhead. Get your suitcase, fill it up, go up and down.
I like a good like contraction piece. Sorry, of like thinking I'm doing an overhead press and slowly coming down and up, like thinking there's like like you're going through mud and it's a resistance, because that'll help build the shoulders too without any equipment.
Yeah, love it, love it. So
bands are relatively cheap on Amazon. They're like $20 and they'll last you for years. So I don't know if it's something we're just not aware that is an option, but that's something I always recommend clients who are doing at-home workouts.
I will send you our Amazon link to our bands so that you can get you some bands. Take the next one.
Next one is Christina and Amanda. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? I'm at a standstill and can't move the last 8 or 15 pounds. I think it's holiday weight, but it's all good. I'm thinking about the OMAD for a week or two just to try and kickstart everything. I'm still very active and that hasn't changed and I don't plan on it changing. Do you have any thoughts? Oh, wait, Love. She had a little. Okay, then last part 2. Whenever I'm eating clean and often, I cave toward the end of the day and binge junk. I already eat gluten-free and try for low carbs. Oh boy.
Yeah. This reads restriction all over it. This person has a lot of food rules that I can't eat carbs. I have to eat clean. I can have to eat in a certain way. And obviously
too.
Right. And that's what's not working for you. Right. Because that ends up causing you to quote unquote binge later because you're fucking hungry. Right. And, you know, this person also in the notes told us she's type 2 diabetic and like thinks that low carb is the way. You can find your carbohydrate load that works for your body. And that carbohydrate load, also we need to look at what types of carbs you're eating. I am working with a client who really had, you know, a bit of I love her to death because she doesn't want to add the GLP-1s or metformin or any of that. She really wants to do this natural way, but all her friends are adding all the things. So I said, okay, let's look at metformin, for example. All we're doing is managing blood sugars and insulin resistance, right? So let's look at how you're like the quality of your food and what you're eating. Now, for listeners, I like to give my clients the autonomy around what they eat, hitting specific, like certain targets. But for this client, I combed through her food and realized very quickly that the problem and the reason why she most likely wasn't seeing that weight loss is because of she's probably getting into that insulin resistance type of place. She's low on fiber, low on, you know, whole foods, low on omega-3s. She's hitting her protein targets, right? But the quality of her food, making sure she's eating throughout the day, make sure she's eating enough is important. And so for a type 2 diabetic, it's not just, I don't eat carbs. Well, listen, mama, you're fucking eating them. Like, so that's not I don't want to fucking hear that when you just told me you binged on food.
Right.
So is it that scary to you or is it not? You know,
well, and like you can still have carbs. We just don't want to be spiking throughout the day. Like we want a nice steady state. But when you're not having any carbs, you're limiting your eating window and then you're binging at night, like that's going to spike the whole thing you're trying to prevent by being type 2 diabetes. You know what I mean? So like also the OMAD. So when we originally recorded this, we had to look that up. So we didn't even know what that was. And it's only having 1 meal a day, which is totally preposterous because if you think about that, no woman should be below 1,500 calories, right? General, like blanket statement. And so are you going to eat 1,500 calories in 1 meal? Well, that's going to spike your sugars, right? So, and most people don't have 1,500 calories in 1 meal. Most people don't even have 800 calories in 1 meal. Right. So that's something to consider of like, okay, so then how much do you have in that 1 meal? Then the other thing too, that we need to pay attention to is you're trying to move the last 8 or 15 pounds. That's a big difference. That's almost, I'm either trying to lose 8 pounds or double that. And when we're talking about being in a caloric deficit, we think of, okay, so if she wants to lose 1 pound per week, which is a sustainable rate of weight loss, then you're in at least 16 weeks of a weight loss phase, right? I'm just going to say 16 pounds, right? So you're 16 weeks of eating less, but it sounds like you're already eating less. Right. And you're just trying to figure out what's another way I can continue to eat less to hopefully gain weight. Well, if the eating less is not, and I want everybody to hear this, if the eating less is not letting you lose weight, then maybe the problem isn't eating more less.
Yeah. Continuing to eat less.
Yes. So we need to come out of this. We need to find a way of eating that is not so restricted, a way of eating that a lot provides for flexibility. We need to find a way of eating that lets you not be trapped by all of these rules that you've set for yourself.
This brings up something. I was talking to someone in my DMs, and she was going to get on a clarity call with us, but then she was like, I asked her, what was the struggle? And she said, I've learned how to lose body fat, but I just seem to yo-yo, where I will start off strong and then I'll yo-yo. I don't remember the exact message. And she goes, and she ended up canceling our call because her old coach and her reconnected. And I was like, ugh. Like, if your old coach didn't teach you how to do this sustainably, right. And I also, I didn't say that directly, but I think she listened. So sorry. Number one, your old coach didn't teach you how to do this sustainably. You learned how to lose body fat. And I'm wondering if there's a lot of restriction and rules around that. And that's why you keep yo-yo dieting, right? Like, why aren't we looking at the whole picture here? We tend to be like, oh, it's like compartmentalized. Like, I know how to lose weight. Right. But it's like, no, babe, you're like you just said, like, you're not figuring out the way to eat that not only allows you to hit your goals, be consistent with them and understand what's underneath it when you're not consistent, right? Because there's something going on in the background. So these rigid rules, the restrictions, the kind of like my weight loss, I know how to do that, but I can't stick to it. So I need to figure that out. No, you need to figure out the weight loss. So this is the issue here, because you're not the weight loss, the food that we're eating in this phase. Anyway, I can go on and on with that. All right. Last one. Hey, Amanda, Christina. I feel a huge energy dip while in a calorie deficit. And besides caffeine, I don't know what to do to keep myself energized without a nap. What are your suggestions to boost my energy in a calorie deficit? Thank you so much. She also put in, I try to prioritize protein in my diet, but I don't track macros. She also gave us her specifics. She's 21, 300 pounds, 5'7", and she has PCOS. So if we're feeling this huge energy dip, I'm going to look at how much we're consuming and what we're consuming, right? Yeah. And, oftentimes, just like the last, gal, you're going to be reducing your carbohydrates, and you get a lot of energy from carbohydrates, right? Because it's very difficult, especially for women, to go straight into ketosis, to stay in ketosis. We've talked about that many times. Not saying this person's keto, but more importantly, how much are you eating and how often? I want to share something yesterday. So I traveled. So after we recorded on Monday, I got in the car, drove to California. But that morning before we got together, I had packed 8 ounces of Greek yogurt, strawberries, granola, an orange and apple, 2 of the Magic Spoon bars, 2 Fairlife protein shakes, and some of my bread that I like. I think that was it. So I get there, go to sleep, wake up. And my sister usually is really good about like cooking for everyone, but I'm glad she didn't. It actually made me very happy for her. But if I was just there by myself, she usually makes like really good meals. So I'm glad I brought that yogurt, because there wasn't a lot to choose from. So I had my yogurt, whatever. Then I have 2 coaching calls, and I'm getting ready for the funeral, and I was starving. I mean, my energy I felt like my blood sugar was off. Like, it was low, even though I had just eaten it was full of fiber, protein, carbs, all the things, right? And I just felt so like, kind of like dizzy almost. And luckily she had some leftovers in there. It was like chicken, asparagus, and like rice pilaf. So I ate that, then went to the funeral, and like, again, that feeling happened, right? Because I'm having these things in between like eating that I don't normally have because I have the freedom to kind of eat whenever I want, right? And you just have to pay attention to that. Like I realized like while I did eat these great meals, I had way too much time in between those meals that I was like, I got too hungry. I almost got hangry, and I was with my family. So that was a recipe for disaster. My parents literally was like, so what time's the funeral? They're like 1:30. What time are we leaving? Noon. I go, when are we eating? They go, I don't know. And I feel like people do that all the time. I was like,
they do that all the time.
No, I need to eat.
Yeah.
And then I look like a bitch, right? You always look like the bitch because you're so focused on eating.
Like, are we just not going to eat? I'll whip out my protein bar. They're like, you would have a protein bar. It's like, are you not hungry?
Would you say that to Olivia?
No.
People?
I'd be like, yeah, she's having a protein bar. She's hungry.
No. I'm going to say,
if she was like,
when your baby is fucking hungry,
yeah. Are you like,
people aren't like, oh, shut up. Why are you telling everyone you need to eat?
Can you just wait? It's like, no, she can't.
No. And women do this all the time and they feel this huge energy dip. Right.
Well, and this is like for her too, like, even if we are in a deficit. So 1, I want to know what the deficit is. 2, I want to know, did you get your maintenance before the deficit? And 3, like, even if the deficit, like if you're too hungry, maybe it's too large of a deficit. So say she does have her meals spaced out, like she is having breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe a snack or 2 in between. Like you don't have to be in that large of a deficit if you're super, super hungry and it's killing your energy. Because you're going to look for like these things with caffeine. So maybe you're having like a Red Bull or a Rockstar or something like that. Like that has calories back in it that you're trying to take away. So you're kind of, and I rather have you have more food as opposed to calories from caffeine or like energy supplements or something like that.
I agree.
So yeah, and I try and prioritize protein. Oh, she doesn't track macros. That's right. So you're probably in too big of a deficit would be, or you're not spacing out your food, or like, when is this energy like dip happening too? Like, is it when you first wake up in the morning? Because maybe you're not getting good sleep because you're in too big of a deficit as well.
Right. Or have you just worked all day and you don't set boundaries? Right. I know that's one for me. When I just like push through, I feel exhausted. I know that's going to happen today. And let me tell you something. This is good. Today, so I woke up at 3 a.m., you guys, California time, 4 a.m. Arizona time. Okay. And number 1, sun's not out. So, and I couldn't make coffee because I was at my sister's house and I didn't want to like wake everyone up. So I'm raw dogging this fucking drive, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's open. I'm not going to stop at like, if I'm going to get coffee, I'm going to get a coffee that I want. I'm not going to stop at like a 7-Eleven. People out there are probably like, I love 7-Eleven coffee. So anyways, I drink a Fairlife because I can feel myself like already that energy dip, right? Because I probably only got like 6.5 hours of sleep, maybe. So I drink my Fairlife shake that I prepped, setting myself up for success. Then I found a Starbucks and I did a coffee, the egg white bites, and an everything bagel. And I took a photo of it because I was going to share it with you all. Why did I have that everything bagel? Because I knew if I ate the protein, because I was getting tired. I was like, because the sun wasn't up. Like I was like, please, sun, shine on my face. I need you to wake me up because we have to remember when the sun is down, our body is preparing for sleep, right? So I had that everything bagel. The whole meal was like maybe 400 calories. I even had butter on it. Oh, right. No, but I felt good. My energy came back up. Obviously I had a little bit of caffeine. So yes, that's a part of it too. But there have been times before where I just had caffeine and that shit didn't work. Or it worked for like 10 minutes. And then I was like, oh, fuck, here we are again. So and I haven't eaten since then. And look here we are. And I do have another glass of cup of coffee because Mark's like, I left the coffee on for you. It's like, thank you. Thanks, Mark. So I hope
Mark.
Yeah, I know. I hope that is helpful. And yeah, we really enjoy answering your questions. At least it gives you a different perspective because we are adding also in a mindset piece. Now, we didn't get into a lot of that, but we touched on it.
Mhm.
Whereas getting your questions answered from your standard macro coach is just going to tell you behavioral change, data-driven answers where we're going to give you an answer that's looking at all of the parts and the pieces of your life. So if you would like to ask any questions to us, you can do it live on our show, or you can submit through the Q&A link below. Again, for our clients listening, we have it now in our reviews and testimonials resource in Everfit. Anything else?
No.
By the way, everyone, I do Facebook Lives. So they're Facebook and Instagram Lives, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I have right now, the topic is why your diet failed you, or why diets fail. I've gone through food rules, exercise rules, and today we're going to talk about your self-worth rules. So, and maybe not today. Actually, you're not going to hear this until afterwards, but know in the future that goes down on either my Instagram or the Facebook group, Women's Weight Loss and Workout Support, which we will link here as well. We need more people who listen to us in that group because there's a lot of people who are uneducated, because obviously the name of the group, that could really use your test, your own, not examples, but experience with kind of working in the way that we promote here. So other than that, if you're interested in coaching with us, you can also check out the Clarity Call link and or the link to our website. And we have a lot going on, so it'll all be there. And we just want to leave you with this last one thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.